all of the same bands kind of sticking. We still have the Orianna and the Casio. Is Nocturne going to join? Yes, he is. And so what is LNG's first pick going to be? I wonder if it is going to be that Xin Zhao that we saw get banned in the second phase. Or is it going to be the Rumble, who has definitely dropped in priority? I think it's rather interesting considering DFT got introduced. I would have thought he would have been a massive abuser of this rune.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's still been a big pick for Sheer. Still his second most picked across the season. Looking at the rise for Karis, this is a pick that we haven't gotten to see quite as much of since the removal of Phase Rush. It's definitely dropped down in priority a fair bit as well, but it's definitely an option that you have available. It's still considered relatively blindable. There's other mages still up and out in the world. I don't know if you necessarily need a blind pick mid here. Still plenty of priority picks left available.
I think you just want to take this away, and as soon as you see Rise, or if you're WE and you see a Rumble, that is a lane that you can attack at some point. If later in the game we decide we're going to Rise Roam Warp someone across and we try to catch them off guard, that could be a good cheater for WE to get around the map a little bit quicker. And so what is the jungler here for Monki? Oh no. Oh no. Alright, so Cube gets Cassante. Good equalizer, or good just blinder. We're getting Trundle blind? Huh?
All right, a nice early Trundle to whet the palate here from the likes of Croco, and they are going to go for this Yone as well, so double layered ultimates from Sheer and BuLLDog without necessarily a huge enabler for it. The Trundle from Croco is interesting. We're hovering Master Yi, that's not real, but the Lee Sin certainly could be for Monki here. They want to go for that combo alongside the Rise, and they will lock it in.
Honestly, I'd rather see Monki play Master Yi than Lee Sin. The threat of him playing Lee Sin is too dangerous. Alright, so LNG, both teams actually just decide we're going to pick all of our top side and we're going to send our bot lanes to be 4-5 and trying to get counter in some way. I wonder what the focus is going to be, because right now LNG, they have a lot of great burst with a Trundle and this Yone being able to fly in and then have the equalizer over top, but I think for WE, they are really resilient. These solo lanes are very tough to move, especially when we're talking about 2 and 3 items are going to basically be unkillable unless they get a lot of focus. And Lee Sin can basically just play like, you just kick someone away. Trundle, go away. Yone, go away. Like,
yeah, I mean, it can definitely play a bit of a peeling role for the likes of the Rise if necessary. Alongside this Cassante, they could go for some kind of scaling hyper carry to be able to play for a more scaling game plan. Seraphine going to end up banned away. Neither of these teams big on the Ashe Seraphine train. Has not been picked all season long for LNG, and then WE have not been like huge proponents of it either. They've got a couple of Ashe games in there, a couple of Seraphine games in there. But definitely not as of late, and certainly at a lesser degree than a lot of the other teams in and around the LPL.
Smart from WE to get rid of the 2 strongest laners, I think, left, with Caitlyn and MF. Now we're saying, okay, let's dip into some of those other marksmen, whether that's a Corki. Corki and Nami have already been broken apart. Karma is banned, so Corki's probably going to be sitting with probably Nico as the next best, like, poke support that's going to be able to come out here. And Erha, you know, surprisingly enough, has had a lot of different, like, unique counters. He's played Camille, he's played a Mel game. I don't know if it'd be perfect in this, but that is something you have to think about if they're going to be giving over counter pick.
All right, yeah, taking the opposite direction of that late game hyper carry. They're going to snap up the Jhin for a nice, safe and secure bottom lane to be able to farm up against 1xN and missing. See what they want to go for here. Definitely some stronger scaling tools. They've got at least a way to deal with the Cassante in the later game, whether or not they have a true tank shredder, thanks to the presence of this Trundle. Looking at the Nautilus, Varus already banned away, Misfortune banned away. What do you want to go alongside this Kai'Sa? Or this Nautilus? Could it be Kai'Sa?
It could be Kai'Sa. It could be a Felios if they're just trying to match, like, range for range. Corki is still great, I think. Just maybe suffers playing into Rise, but the rest of the team is perfectly fine with playing it. It's going to be a Yunara, so a great hyper carry here for 1xN. Won't have the same amount of setup for his team, but Trundle Pillar, I keep talking about it as one of the best basic abilities that does no damage. It is super, super reliable. You basically get to say you don't get to move or you have to flash, and versus a Trundle versus a Nautilus and a Yone, that's basically a death sentence by itself there. So What is the counter pick here for Erha? I think Alistar is really dangerous. There's a Trundle on the opposite side. Does get some value versus these melees, so we'll see. But this might be a game where Erha gets to see a lot of gray screen tonight.
It's dangerous territory to be playing the Alistar for certain, and you know, you do kind of want that secondary front line, though, if you're WE. Somebody's got to be able to keep this Jhin and this Ryze alive in what look like they very well could be some very chaotic skirmishes. And Trundle is going to be subjugating the K'Sante more frequently than not, so going to make life plenty difficult for him. I do like the team fighting tools that LNG have drafted for themselves. I just almost wish they had a little bit more lockdown for the jungle position. I continue to be baffled by how early this Trundle was locked in. Yeah, Pillar's a great ability, but I don't know. Like, this champion wasn't getting banned in Phase 2, probably.
No, it was not. And look, they saw that there was a K'Sante, and they're like, we gotta stop that. We gotta stop that right now, immediately. No fun to be allowed. Cube was too much of an impact. He got an MVP for game 1. They're like, okay, we're gonna make sure he does not get a Pog vote for this game number 2, by all means.
Well, I mean, you want to get him off of a Pog vote, you can't keep giving him his most played champions. He's 11 games to Sion this season, 11 games to K'Sante. This is, if he's gonna get Pog on anything, it's gonna be these picks, right?
Just win. You know, that's the perfect recipe. Just
that's
win.
the thing that's been missing. Yeah, he's been playing the champions a whole bunch, just hasn't been winning.
So, well, look, WE has not been doing a lot of winning in recent times, so we'll see what that ends up looking like here in this game. Game number 2 getting started, and already maybe an invade onto this Trundle. It's going to get spotted out by some early vision from LNG.
So, not going to be able to go for that path here. Will be a undisrupted jungle start, likely, for Croco. He's keeping his distance, though. He's somewhat fearful that they may have just pathed around and gone to invade him anyway, but he will be fine to start off on his own red buff. Monki gonna start on the opposite side, so opposite side clears, unlikely to run into each other at the first scuttle.
Could also be another instance where Monki just decides, I'm going to jump over the Dragon Wall and potentially invade. That's why we see an early ward here from LNG. I want to take this time. I want to just real quick confront something that you said during the draft there. You were saying that Jhin is not really a hyper carry, and I can understand like where that comes from. I personally like to see Jhin as like the ultra carry because he converts all other like attack damage carry stats, relevant anyway, into like just raw damage on this champion. And he's very easily could reach like 600 to 700 AD depending on his rune setup and his items. And we've seen it time and time again for Jhin with Fleet Footwork and Storm Razor if he opts for it. This champion on 4 items is stronger than most any other marksman in the game.
I think that's fair. I think when I say that, I am saying it struggles to carry the fight single-handedly. Like if you,
Agreed.
Yeah, if you do not have Karis backing you up in the damage department, you will not be able to make up enough DPS to work through an entire LNG lineup unless you have snowballed completely out of control.
Of course.
And I feel like this is a comp where you can kind of do that. You got a lot of peel for yourself. You got the K'Sante, you got the Alistar. Obviously, the Alistar came in later. But instead, going to be extra pick tools, going to help them try to find some of these early and even mid and late lockdowns on the 2 stray LNG members. Of course, there was some proxying going on there from Cube. He's up to the old K'Sante shenanigans as he pursues that second MVP, Alk.
Oh, maybe they know there's a Phaelite here. There's a ping coming in from Sheer. Does he know that Lee Sin is going to be stuck on this crab? Because if push comes to shove and we look for something, maybe there's an opening to try to find Sheer and force some of his summoner spells out early. Trundle, I was going to say maybe could have gone bot lane because he has the inside track, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case.
Instead, oh, never mind. Yeah, going to just be able to finish up his clear. Take that recall, get back out. Sword plus Ruby Crystal. Something all junglers are all too familiar with. Monki will return to his side of the map as well, was pairing up with Karis. See if they could go ahead and find anything, but did not quite manifest itself here. Croco paying a visit towards the top side. It's a very tanky cube, but he's up pretty far. Sheer already overheated, starting to whack away at this Cassante. Croco going to get pulled back in by the third strike of the Intofos, but now going to be able to move forward with that pillar. Flash forced out of Sheer, dodges out on the stun. Flash forced out of Croco as well. It costs him a lot of time and a lot of summoner spells, but LNG will claim first blood.
Yeah, 300 gold goes over to Sheer. He's going to get this wave. Cube just teleported back, so this LNG opening up a very strong advantage now. Does Croco have to give up his Raptors because of this? We already have Missing opening back out onto the map and going to see if he can protect, but this might just be a, hey, I gave my top laner a kill. Looks like I'm going to have to give up one of the more important camps here. Maybe Monki starts to turn that into more of an advantage as he's a little bit closer towards his Smite upgrade.
Yeah. And once again, I mean, that's WE just being a little bit faster there. Missing, not able to reset fast enough. BuLLDog not able to get back and push his lane back fast enough. But is positive on gold for the likes of LNG. Taking a little bit of time in and around mid as well. It's dangerous to be a Rise on the enemy side of the map in this day and age. No more phase rush. Does make it tough to be able to get yourself out of dangerous situations. So Missing going to try to be influential and in the area around mid. Here's a little bit of an engage from Erha. Going to force a defensive dredge lock.
Oh, plus 52. Feels good, man. Got the cannon. Yeah, Stormrazor or not having phase rush, very good, or very bad here for Rise. But DFT makes him actually a much more of a potent duelist, which I feel like Rise already was really strong, so I'm glad that Riot, instead of just nerfing Rise, they just decided we're going to get rid of his runes, and that should kind of bring him back into balance. So, good job, Riot. I'm happy usually when we have Rise in the meta, because he is actually a more interesting champion than some of our other mid laners we've seen previously.
Yeah, definitely. There's a big cutoff between the good Realm Warps and the bad Realm Warps, and lots of opportunity for skill expression with that particular ability. Monki looking in towards the bottom lane here. 1xN has been dealing with the absence of the supports for quite a while, about in much the same. Realm Warp coming on through, Missing going to be left quite alone here in the 1 versus 4, and going to try to flash out, gets at least a little bit of a root onto Monki, but he's not the one taking up the turret. Karis going to be the one who takes the aggro now, falling pretty low, but nobody can get on top of him. Monki going to be the one who marks BuLLDog as he comes in with the Fate Unbound on the side. And no trade kills. LNG just lose one, and now 1xN might be the victim of the redive. Monki still coming in, still has access to the Dragon's Rage, gets into the wall, flashes away from the Deadly Flourish. 1xN will stay alive, and now BuLLDog coming back in for round number 2, but this time without Soul Unbound, so he can't get in there safely.
That was a very well-played kind of time there from WE. I think it was really intelligent from Monki. He soaks the bottom lane experience so that he can get level 6, ends up on the bot side where Karis, thanks to some of the trades we saw, got a timer to move in. Now summoner spells away from 1xN, so they're getting a lead here for about and even getting kills for their team. It's exactly what we needed to see coming in from WE. It'll mean the Dragon is started here by this team. LNG will take it.
Oh, Sheer caught under the turret. Cube going to be on top of the red carpet, so he will be slowed up, burned down, and Sheer will be able to walk that one away. But a nice angle by Cube found to take Sheer for most of what he's worth. Monki hovering around mid alongside Erha. Little bit of dicey territory here, but without the ultimate, I can't imagine this is going to end up being a pick for either party. Grubs are about to spawn here, though, so any little advantage, any little push in mid going to be heavily valued. WE making a beeline right over there. They're blowing Cube's TP. They want these grubs.
They're on vision right now. Monki doesn't know that there's a Fey Lights. I have seen Monki in the past just straight up walk over wards he sees and just ignore them, so I can respect the aura. It just says, like, hey, we're not going to fight this. I don't think this is a fight that LNG want to take. You do not have Equalizer.
Yeah.
And I still think that Alistar is way too broken, especially this early on into the game. So WE are making, I think, all of the right plays where they're willing to sacrifice on one step to kind of be 2 ahead of their opponents. And LNG still have not proven in this game and a half, basically, that they're very proactive at all.
And this is where, I mean, a game and a quarter maybe through here, you start to ask yourself, is the gap between Ascend and Nirvana that big? We talked about that 8-2 historical record between these two groups playing against each other, or is WE just locked in? Because these guys are on such tight timings, are playing these dives exceptionally well. They know exactly what their game plan is, and they're operating on the exact timers for it. So far in this game, and in game number 1 as well, I've been very impressed with what WE have shown up to play with.
It's just a much faster game. I mean, you're playing Group Nirvana, Group Ascend, right? Like Nirvana, Ultra Prime, you've got OMG, you've got Thunder Talk, EDG, LGD. These are okay teams, but I mean, WE, they got to play 8 series versus BLG, JDG, Top Esports, and AL. And yes, they would have lost them, but they took games off of JDG. They took games off of AL. These are learning moments for this team. We're seeing them just have to play a much faster game where they have to be making plays. Against the better teams, they get punished. LNG have not really had to go through that much scrutiny.
Karis maybe up a little bit far here, but does get himself out of danger, doesn't even blow the ghost, and is able to outmaneuver the play before Croco's in position to get a nice pillar down. Croco still looking to push this for a little bit more, calling over missing from bottom lane, wants to challenge on these chickens, knowing that Karis is just a little bit weaker.
Karis could even just realm warp if he really needs to quickly move on over. Wow!
Nice hook found by missing. Flash could be forced out of Monki, but they're not letting this fish go. Croco gonna be able to find that kill. What a hook from missing.
That was crazy. He put his safeguard over the Trundle pillar, but the Nautilus hook hit first, and that takes priority. So I think About doesn't get this. I think missing is oh, Realm Warp.
Erha
Okay.
does not have ultimate, taking a lot of damage here from 1xN. The Realm Warp from Karis is blown to try to cover that play. That's going to give BuLLDog a little bit of time to hit the turret and deny a little bit of CS.
All right, LNG. Still not the proactive measures, because that was Croco saying, okay, he's taken 2 of my Raptor camps. Can we please take his? Doesn't end up getting that, but I'm sure he's happy with grabbing himself a kill there. And BuLLDog got to grab a play, so they're making some plans, but we need to see more. That's always want to see. Hey, you have an advantage? What else can we grab from it? How else can we push this lead that we're getting for ourselves? And I think we can ask that same question here for About, who, after they got that kill onto missing underneath the bottom lane tier 1, really has not done much. We've actually seen missing be on the map a lot better.
Yep, really making use of this Nautilus. The most premier engaged support, perhaps, still left inside the meta. A lot of the others have fallen by the wayside in this Enchanter era, but we still do see folks go for the Nautilus pretty frequently. And now, showing why here, that big hook from missing, just so many abilities to be able to lock down targets, get fights started. 30 seconds to go on this Dragon number 2. LNG did claim the first one. They'd love to be able to keep stacking, and they did just get a recall out of 1xN. That Kraken Slayer secured.
That's a very big spike. I mean, Trinity's Force is well done here for Croco. This is a Youmuu's for About, so he'll get some early damage, but not the same kind of scaling that a Hex Optics or a Storm Razor would give him. And they're using some of that early grub take to push themselves into some more.
Wow, Monki sending it here. Missing was waiting for him, though. Gonna be able to get the jump onto him. Depth charge gonna chase him down. 1xN over the wall with the flash. Finds the first kill of the fight. Now Erha, unbreakable will or not, is not gonna be able to get out of this one. Sheer teleports in and says, I gotta get something for this. I'm gonna claim the cow. Barbecues him, uses the ultimate, just doesn't want to waste the time. And this is gonna be second Dragon going the way of LNG. Monki over-aggressing in the jungle once again.
All I will say in response to that play, Gordo, is Master Yi would not have been able to do that, right?
Yeah?
So, just saying, for the
When
fellow
you're right,
WE
you're right, brother.
fans. Yeah, but a super, super costly play for Monki. I just don't see the theory behind it. So he thinks, okay, Croco's by himself, but they know Missing's clearing wards in the brush, and okay, so Jin is in the area. They just don't have any damage. Yeah, even if Sheer hadn't teleported for this, this still would have been a two kill lead going over to LNG. So yeah, the Dragon as well. They're stacking dragons, and WE are just making mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, You're almost tempted to say, oh, you didn't know Missing was there, but he really knew Missing was there. He had 2 control wards on him. It's...
They cancel out. It's PEMDAS. It's fine.
Oh, okay, all right.
He didn't know.
Okay. I'll accept that. A little selective blindness there from Monki, perhaps, but now falls down 0-2 on the Lee Sin. Croco, we questioned the Trundle pick, but it's been very successful for him so far. Been a part of 100% of the kills and off to a nice little 800 gold lead, the biggest lead of anybody in the game at this stage. Finding that dragon lead as well. Very nicely done for LNG. They've got a really nice scaling composition for themselves here as well. This Yone, as he starts to stack up a couple of items. The Trundle late game is really strong, especially into the Cassante. You got a hyper carry in the Yunara. And 1XN picking up that kill as well. Great to get the ball rolling for him when he has had a little bit of a tough laning phase, being left to the one-on-one with the Jhin so frequently.
Usually when I see a Rise, my first kind of thought is, okay, this champion on 2 and 3 is going to be incredibly powerful, and he's going to have access to a lot of HP thanks to Rod of Ages. But if he gets like a Zhonya's, if we still see players decide that like a Frozen Heart is good in this game for Karis, Trundle ult is very good at just shredding all of that and then just turning him into paper mache. So glad to see that we're getting some kind of lead here for LNG. And we also saw Monki pick this Trundle earlier, and with Deadman's plate plus his W, he has like 700 movement speed. The champion is pretty fast.
Definitely is. And needs to be. Being a League of Legends champion in 2026 without a dash, it's a hard life to live. And little look towards the bottom side onto BuLLDog. He's well and truly out of there, and this is going to be a nice and easy pickup of the Rift Herald for LNG. So they're now going to move themselves perhaps over towards the middle lane, just try to open up the map a little bit more, give them more access towards these later dragons and towards the enemy jungle to make life even tougher for Monki.
We've decided our lane positions here is going to be Rise sitting in bot side. We still have Realm Warp, and outside of that bot dive that we got, we've not gotten very much more out of Karis on this champ, so kind of want to see a little bit more from WE in that aspect. But for LNG, if you're happy with the game state, you're up 2,000 gold. Your Yunara is, by all intents and purposes, not at all behind the 8-ball.
Erha.
And you are missing out on very little here. You are, I think, not going out for one.
GP. WE trying to make a play happen here. Missing is a little bit locked down, and Monki will be able to finish him off. The flash is too late. Now looking for the lockdown. Erha finds a double knockup. BuLLDog not able to get over the wall. Cube so tanky in the front line. Croco going to be the next one being focused. Fate sealed over the wall, but again, Cube is just soaking up all of this damage all out over the wall for an execution on a Croco, and WE strike back with a quick 2-0.
When we talk about supports, it has been like, okay, are we going for Aftershock, which is what we see here for Missing. Typically, you are very tanky, but they delete him. His team is way too far behind him, and I mean, that was a fantastic collapse from WE. They're going to turn this into gold to try to cut into that gold lead. I imagine that WE are also not going to be looking for this dragon. This is probably LNG going to Soul Point, but a very, very competent fight coming in from them. Yeah, BuLLDog is over the wall. 1XN is sitting in Banana Brush alongside their jungle. This was just I think a great find here from WE with the amount of range that they have thanks to all the different champions coming in at the same time. This engage from Erha was very, very well played.
Absolutely. Really nice shot as well from About to be able to find that initial pick. And yeah, like you call out, I mean, Erha starts off with a double knockup, and from there on out, it's hard to catch a break as Croco has to play frontline for the team with the absence of the Nautilus, although Erha getting a little bit of revenge thrown onto him by the LNG crew. 1XN will be the one to claim that kill.
They've got 4 people in mid. Surely we're going to go for a dragon off of this. They were able to grab the bot lane tier 1, and Herald is going to confirm their ability to take this structure. There's a lot of crystalline overgrowth. Alright, they'll get 2 plates. Yone is just picking up gold on sides. WE, what else are we looking for? What else can we get from this? BuLLDog will be able to TP after he recalls as well once he finishes his turret.
Yeah, will he be able to have enough time to finish that entire turret before the dragon gets started up by WE? They are looking to be able to put a thorn in the plan of LNG to be able to stack up towards Soul Point, and it looks like LNG are going to say, okay, we're going to get more gold into BuLLDog. We're going to let him scale up. we are willing to delay our potential soul. We feel like we are going to be the stronger comp once more and more items are coming through.
I'm pleasantly surprised, Gordo. I thought LNG were going to go for that dragon just by way of how the timers ended up, but...
Oh, Karis, a little bit caught, but no more hard CC. He's gone.
Good job from Karis, but yeah, I'm surprised LNG went for that play because they only got 2 plates in mid. Maybe they were expecting a little bit more pressure and the ability to finalize that turret, because if they get that turret, then likely they can just lead that into the dragon. But because they don't, and then we see WE really rally behind this entrance into the blue ramp, they took control of River. So it's a small gold lead. It'll keep LNG up at 2,000. But now we need to turn these golds into wins. We need to make them into realized competition here. You have a 2-item Yunara. Once she hits 3 and 4, it's kind of another champion that should be able to match this Jhin later on.
20 seconds on Baron. I think either of these teams too interested in that one right on spawn. Would be a very slow one from WE. But they are interested in being able to get a little bit of turret plating on towards Karis from the top side. Looking around, see if he is going to be overstepping, he being BuLLDog, but just going to take their recalls instead. A little bit of a moment of peace here for what has been a really strong game from LNG compared to that game number 1, all in all. WE had that nice pick to be able to come back in earlier, but LNG just take the reins right back. They're about to take down this mid turret. Croco looking to threaten onto a Bout Karis. Is it too far? Nice block from Missing on the Deadly Flourish. That saved Croco's life.
Missing has been near flawless on this Nautilus so far this game, just being out on the map where he needs to be, applying pressure, feigning when he needs to be, just sitting in Fog of War. He's done a very good job of not only covering mid, but helping Croco move his weight across this map so far. Very good job coming in from a extremely tenured support.
Missing. Part of the reason that this LNG roster is so highly touted as being able to potentially move on up, former JDG support, been able to do so much in his career. Wants to add a promotion to Group Ascend to that list. And
I mean, he's a former WE team member actually, so
even before, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, got a little bit of a bone to pick perhaps as well, even though that was quite a bit of time ago. Ooh, BuLLDog finding the dash onto Karis. Might be able to full send this one. Does not want to commit. The fate sealed. Besides, that's an important tool to keep in his back pocket. Monki going to arrive to give that support to his mid laner.
Gordo, I'm going to ask, am I allowed to complain about boots again like I did last game?
Yeah, anytime.
Okay. Thank you. I just don't like these Lucidity boots for Karis. I feel if he had, like, the Chain Lace Crusher is good against 3 out of the 5 members here, you can make an argument that the Chain Lace Crushers, the upgraded Mertres, actually has a lot of value since Yunara and Yone have some mixed damage, and you're going up against Nautilus plus Rumble.
Ooh,
Erha.
A little bit of an engage on Erha. Does pop the Unbreakable Will about. Is just pumping damage into Missing. Is going to have the depth charge thrown on top of him. Not going to be able to support any further. TP coming in. It's Cube, and he's able to dodge away from the dredge line that Missing did dangle out there. So LNG, get some cooldowns out. Get the Alistair ultimate down. They're going to be able to say, hey, we got a minute with that one away. What can we do with these timers?
No dredge line and no subjugate for LNG either, so you know, we're talking about the trade. I would say generally I'm kind of okay with that from LNG side. They're going to continue to mount this gold lead up for themselves. And can we get any relevant item completions? I imagine BuLLDog's going to recall here and get himself a shield bow. That'll be essentially the game breaker when we're talking about moving into this 4th dragon of the game in 30 seconds.
Looking for soul point are LNG. This could have been their soul, but they opted to put some more gold into BuLLDog. He's now on 2 items for this upcoming battle. Let's see if it pays off for him. Looking to secure some bot lane priority first and foremost. WE already in the river. And BuLLDog's got to keep his wits about him. Does not want to get collapsed on sides before the fight starts.
Wow, this Phaelite The democratization of vision this season has been quite crazy. They look for missing here.
Trigger pulled on towards missing. Does have the aftershock to stay tanky. You're going to try to turn it back. Equalizer layer down. Cube cut off from the rest of the team. Has to flash back over the wall. That's the front line. Forced to utilize their mobility summoner spell. The Dragon now going to be the priority. Neither party want to give this one up. A full-on 5-on-5 in the river. North side is LNG, south is WE. Double knockup found by BuLLDog. Erha trying to step up, trying to find the knockup.
Oh, no!
Fate Seal comes on through for a triple knockup over the wall. Smite comes on through for Croco. First one to fall in the fight is Erha. It's a 5 versus 4. Cube up in the front line, getting worked through. Sheer will burn him down with the flame spitter before dropping himself. Monki gets an execution and flashes back over the wall. Croco in the front line, hook back in. Missing, just trying to give his team a clean path out as the Realm Warp comes through, and Karis is looking for more. Flash forced out of 1XN.
This game is getting very tricky now. We're seeing fights continue to go the way of WE. The Dragon is secured there for LNG, so they'll get to Soul Point, and now it'll be 4.5 minutes before we get to see them maybe stake their claim for a first game win here in this series. Back and forth, I mean, Gordo, look at how much damage we are seeing being thrown out by the carries of WE. Well, I want to look at this again because if I saw right, Erha, he did the headbutt into BuLLDog, and he actually knocks his ultimate away from being able to land on the cube and about. If that lands, I think this fight is done and dusted there. Great job from the support of WE. But the rest of this, I mean, 1XN didn't have his ultimate. He popped it very early on to try to find cube. And if they had just been able to cancel one more of these spells, maybe we could have seen LNG really handily taken this from their opponents.
Again, a good play by Missing here. Sacrifices himself to stop Karis from just cleaning up this entire team fight. And yeah, great call out on BuLLDog's ultimate there. At first I thought my man was just cooking, just trying to get a lot of a gap closed through into the pit to be able to land the Q3 over the wall. That makes a lot more sense. Well done by Erha. The question is, are you going to be able to pull that off fight after fight, though? 1XN has an Infinity Edge completed now. BuLLDog is still scaling into the game. You didn't shut him down. You're not stopping him from soaking up all these waves on top side. These guys are becoming more and more dangerous as the game goes on, and LNG are now on Soul Point.
That's the worry. It's a 2,500 gold lead. If on both sides, I think you can argue that this game has been rather close. The fact that LNG were able to claw back after some risky early games. We're going to go for a Baron. Okay, I like this. You have the damage.
Day 2, it's so fast. I mean, between the Trundle, the Yone, and the Yunara, they are just ripping through the purple worm, down below 2/3 HP, and now Erha trying to find his way in. Gonna be here a little bit too late. Monki cannot arrive in time, even with the ward hop. They are gonna sacrifice Missing for this, and they're just trying to get out. Realm Warp, all 4 members, all stacked on top of each other. They find the knockups, kick away onto BuLLDog. Karis is going to be the target, getting focused down, goes into the stasis. BuLLDog gonna be able to finish off Monki. Karis comes up with a flame spitter right in his face. He'll be melted down, flash over the wall from about, and he's just gonna be met with his own demise. LNG 4 for 2 team fight.
This is now 2 fights in a row where LNG, they find a big fight. They're able to take the objective, but WE try to squeeze one
Cube's
more.
Got nowhere to go. They're going to be able to hunt him down. This is going to be an ace for LNG. There's nowhere for this guy left to go.
Oh my god. LNG, great job being able to find a huge team fight there, and yet again Missing. This might be a support MVP if I've ever seen one for the POG. He is doing so much dirty work to get his team across these finish lines, across to these objectives. I love the Realm Warp from Karis. Where's my 80 carry though? About was nowhere nearby. I feel like WE should have just waited, and they section off this Yone, but he just snaps back and he kills Monki. And then this flash from About. I think that's the best gift that LNG could have gotten this entire fight.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just bad, Alk. I'm
What's up?
Blown away that BuLLDog did not just channel Fate Sealed on top of that incoming Realm Warp. Instead, he's just waiting there to get punted away. Makes the fight kind of close, but still really well done by 1XN, and they take full advantage of the fact that they're all grouped on up Sheer. Really toasting them. If we got to see a team fight damage chart there, I promise you Sheer would be way up there.
Okay, LNG getting gold on bot side. They're going to use this Baron, and the best part about it is that Baron's going to tick over until this Dragon and Soul Point for them. Ryze is splitting on top side. He'll be able to join with his Ghost and his Realm Warp. WE are going to try to push and mount some kind of defense in the mid lane. Be very careful. You
BuLLDog
cannot
missing.
die here.
Oh, kick back away. BuLLDog able to get back to the other side. Depth charge to try to buy a little bit of space. Missing. Going to try to flash away. Did get connected onto by the Sonic Wave. The Johnson CC going to be pulling him back in. And the curtain call will spell curtains for him. About claims that kill. They lose their bot lane inner turret in the trade, but are starting to work onto mid lane inner. Croco and 1XN think they have a pick on Karis. He's going to be forced to flash back over the wall. TP being channeled by BuLLDog to group up with the rest of the team. It's now a 3-man squad coming on through. Sheer trying to just force his way through mid, threw down the equalizer. He's going to get melted down before his teammates can come on over to support him. BuLLDog is in there, forced to snap back away. There's the Realm Warp. Karis going to get right back on top of him. Going to have no problem taking out his mid lane counterpart. WE just throw away both of their solo laners. 45-second death timers for WE to push.
Oh my god, they're going to go for the dragon instead. They're going to actually go for both plays, take the mid-tier 2, and go for the dragon at the same time. They needed to not die on that mid-wave. The mid-tier 1 was not the most important objective on the map at that time. Oh my god, BuLLDog in missing, man. One error potentially cost them at least time in this game. I'm not going to say the entirety of this game, but dragon goes over. And god damn it, LPL, give me a replay of this one. We're seeing some replay. There we go.
There it is.
Oh, we're really late into this. Okay. I like the idea, but like he's so tanky on this rise.
Yeah, I mean, forget missing getting picked. Like that's the original mistake. That's the original sin here. What is Sheer doing?
I have no words. If I speak, great block by the way from Erha. Gets to stop BuLLDog from going further into the back line. But yeah, Gordo, I have no words. I have no words to describe how Sheer got there, and unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who team you're a fan of, you're just gonna have to forget that. We have Baron spawning in 2 minutes, and we've got a dragon that spawns in 4, okay? Nothing matters now. We must continue. The game ticks on.
I'll say it's fortunate for everybody. It keeps the game close, keeps the series close, gets the cinema rolling, you know, gets everybody excited, gets engagement going in the chat. Like
you already have enough of that, okay? You have enough engagement in the chat.
Oh, you think so? I don't know. But Monki, he wants a little bit of engagement as well. Missing does too. Finds the dredge line. Monki tries to get in on a 1XN, but he is way too deep. He's got no paddle. He's got no backup. Thrown into the Guardian Angel. Tries to dash back away. Here's the Fate Seal. Doesn't connect on anybody. No damage found by BuLLDog. Sheer trying to pump out the damage, and the health bars are so low for WE. 1XN trying to play it front to back. Erha now going to sub in the front line, but this Unbreakable Will is not going to last forever. He's the first and only person to fall in the team fight, and 1XN going to claim the credit for it.
That Trundle Pillar, mega OP when you're sitting in that small corridor outside of the Raptor pit. It completely stopped Erha and Q from getting out from that pit. It turns into a 1-kill lead here for LNG after all is said and done. This game is incredibly close. I mean, you look at these gold leads for Sheer and for Croco, and it's great. But I'm looking at an About who already had the Infinity Edge before we saw 1XN finish his LDR. Now we are at parity between our two AD carries. We've still got these big objectives spawning here. I'm just looking at this Jhin B. Honestly, super, super OP. We are getting to the spot in the game where this champion scales up and to the right in terms of time, and he does an insane amount of damage.
Definitely fully scaled with the game length. Pressing over to 33 minutes here. We are going to a 6th Elemental Drake. Plenty of back and forth between these two teams. Croco just trying to follow the approach, just trying to make life difficult, to try to get in here and get some deeper vision onto him and his team in and around the Baron buff, which is, of course, back and available. But it's much harder for WE to try to sneak a Baron the way that LNG did. They do it way slower.
Try it. They're going to go for this.
Stop him.
I mean, BuLLDog's coming. Erha's on a flank. Maybe he's going to try to look to bounce someone out of this play. But now he's separated. Cube and him are going to have to do a
long to get in here.
work.
I mean, this Baron's dropping lower and lower. It's below 3K. Croco's got to step up. Flashes. Gets the steal. Croco secures another objective from right under Monkey's nose. Now, what about the follow-up team fight? Dredge line, or depth charge rather, going to find its way onto 3. Curtain Call opened up. One shot connects on a 1XN. Next onto Croco. Slows them down a little bit, but there is no follow-up to be had. LNG, heist complete, get themselves the Baron, and waltz right back out.
Gordo, this feels so much like the last series we saw for them. Where were LNG in game number 2? They had a 9,000 gold lead the last time we saw these two teams play. It wasn't quite that big this game, but WE are fighting back. They're coming back into this game. LNG are making mistakes. WE are pouncing on them, but it's still anyone's game at this point. It is still LNG with the lead. It is still LNG on Soul Point, but now Baron here for WE. How much more can... Oh, wait, LNG got it. He flashed it and stole it. Okay,
yeah,
I didn't even realize that.
Stole
I'm
it,
a noob.
bro.
I'm a noob. I'm a noob. I thought it was just a bad flash.
Ah, no. Heist complete, baby. Croco with that smite. Fast fingers outperforms Monki again. 30 seconds to go on this next dragon. Let's see if he can make it a 3rd time in the series and secure this soul for LNG, because Yone, Trundle, these champions with Chemtech soul, oh baby.
I need to see one of these top side from WE actually do something here, because Monkey's Lee Sin has been nigh untouched, like just not been clean on the combos, like the Qs, insects.
BuLLDog looking for the engage on the side. Here comes the depth charge, finding its way through 2 members with the equalizer on top of him. Cube just getting melted down by 1XN, and down goes the tank. Erha next up on the menu, just gonna try to punt 1XN out of this fight, but he's gonna fall down to BuLLDog. Missing, still staying alive. Monki can't even find the support as 1XN shows up,
oh my God,
transcends himself, and closes out this team fight. He and BuLLDog are just unstoppable. LNG with a 5-for-1 ace are looking to close out game number 2.
All right, I was saying maybe it was a repeat of history. No, it'll be LNG rewriting it here. A game 2 win, a back and forth game. Finally, they're able to pounce and finish off this Nexus.
All right, the gap is not that big. Group Nirvana can tussle with Group Ascend. They're going to tie up this series. It's a best of 3 from here on out as LNG even us up at 1-1.
I got so scared. I saw that last fight about was channeling a 4th shot onto 1XN. Maybe it doesn't end up changing too much of the fight with the amount of damage he put out, but really good stuff. I think that even with the errors that we saw from LNG, Missing had a very, very strong game on this Nautilus. And for all intents and purposes, this Trundle, blind, by the way, had so much value this game.
Definitely. Really, really strong performance. And while he does have himself a pretty strong Trundle game, he also takes away a big Monki champion, right? Monki has played a lot of Trundle this year, has been a big part of his pool, has been a big part of what WE brings to the table. That's going to open up some more tank picks for the likes of Sheer, if he wants to go for them, or for Croco himself. Granted, you know, Sai and Cassante, they're already gone. Those are kind of the big boys of the tank realm. But still, always want to keep these things in mind with Fearless as we get deeper and deeper into a best of 5, because we're guaranteed at least a game number 4 here, Alk.
Yes, 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 yes. But it's all about now that both teams are equal. You know, you had your first game win here for WE. You had the first game win for LNG in this game number 2. Now it's all about, like, how are our drafts going to adapt from here on, because maybe we see some of those champions that have been consistently banned start to make it through. Thinking of the Orianna, I'm thinking of the Varus, the Nocturnes of the world. Are those going to start to slip? And what is the bot lane meta going to turn into? Because so far it has been a lot of focus for this 2-on-2 from the rest of the map.
It really has, and to take that one step further, it feels like some of the game plan from WE here has been to give about some real safety here, right? He's played Ezreal and Jhin as his 2 champions so far, has been, you know, trying to not necessarily blind them, although the Ezreal was blind, but trying to create matchups where the 2 versus 2 is going to be pretty secure for him, and where he doesn't have to worry too much about getting a lot of pressure on him from Croco. That's going to get to be a little bit harder to dodge as those champions are off the board, and as you have to start tussling on stuff that's a little shorter range. The Varus is going to remain permabanned. What's about going to go for? His Corki, his Sivir? These kind of picks are a lot less safe.
I think this is just karmic justice. Monki has never really looked good on Lee Sin, so I'm glad we can get this out of the way. I might seem like a hater, but like you saw all the insect combos. He did not land very many, if any at all, onto 1xN. Almost all of them was like, I'm going to dash forward, ult, and then we'll figure out the rest afterwards. Another 100% KP game for Croco.
He's got 100% KP this series.
Yeah.
Let's go, Croco.
I still think Missing deserves the MVP for this game, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm 0 for 2 tonight.
What's funny is I don't even feel like... I feel like LNG is less the, like, Croco is slamming everybody team this split than they were the previous split. I think this split's been a lot more about 1xN, a lot more of a 1xN highlight reel, and I come into this series thinking that he's the big X factor for LNG, but, you know, Croco was obviously their Nirvana MVP in split number 1. He still has a huge number of individual game MVPs to his name, and between the two splits, he is the leader for this team. He shows up in game number 2 after a disappointing game number 1, and that's what LNG need from him.
Got to see a little bit of BuLLDog this game and Sheer. That was a big criticism that we had from game number 1. Giving some, fairness to them, Sheer had a very good matchup in topside with the Rumble into Cassante. Also had a lot of assistance with that early gank from the Trundle to take down Cube after he teleported. So, good plays, but we'll always have to see more, right? That is, it's going to maybe sound annoying for some fans, but this is a long series, and we need to see repetition of that. More, can we build patterns here? Patterns of success for our team, especially because Nirvana just play much less games than the Ascend teams on average.
Yeah, that's always going to be the biggest prize of getting up to Group Ascend is the quality and the volume of competition. And that's where LNG want to find themselves. They want to see how much they can grow with a split of getting to play against the BLGs and the JDGs of the world. And now one step closer to being able to do that. 2 more games to find out if they will be able to get themselves there.
I really hope this is a 5-game series, man. Yeah, I big noob caster. I didn't even see it. I didn't even see the smite. I thought he was just like, I'm flashing forward, and we're just going to pretend like that didn't happen, and we're going to go to the dragon. So, yeah. Wait, I'm just looking. I'm just watching About do so much damage in this fight, and I feel bad for him because his team is just not in a good spot here.
No. He's trying his best. Yeah, as you said, looking for another shot here. He actually had 2 in the chamber, so I think it would be tough to get through 1xN without that 4th shot, but a valiant effort by About. Strong series from him so far as well. I thought his Ezreal was quite clean. Very curious to see what he's going to be able to show us for the rest of the series. Facing off against, the off-heralded 1xN, right? This guy who everybody wants to see in Ascend. Everybody's talking about being the next big thing, the next big LPL 80 carry. About trying to muscle in on that territory here in his rookie season.
Look, About has had a lot of slanderous things said about him. He's the worst AD carry in the league. He is not deserving of his spot on WE. There are much better. I mean, even hell, 1xN. There are people that are like, we need to see him on anyone's Legends next split. We need to see him on Invictus Gaming next split. And he has been for a long time an AD carry that, for lack of a better term, is ELO held. And we need to see him on better teams. We want to see him on top teams. Croco's going to get himself an MVP. I thought maybe we would see a support, but how can you ever beat 100% KP across 2 games?
It's tough. It's a tough ask. Yeah, Croco. A strong Trundle game, showing why he perhaps believes this champion to be a bit more blindable than maybe some of us on the desk may. And yeah, I mean, I agree with you, dude. I mean, justice for Missing. What a great game from him, but perhaps whiffed a few too many dredge lines on camera there to be able to win the MVP this time around.
He has to do it when we're in a replay, so he needs to somehow. I mean, they're playing remote. I'm not going to say anything past that. He just needs to land them when we're not seeing them, so that we can start the propaganda for the guy in the support role.
All right, yeah, we'll be a little cautious there, but as we get into game number 3, we're going to throw it to a quick break here. Everybody stay tuned, though, because we have got ourselves at least 2 more games of Team WE taking on LNG tonight. Let's find out if we can go the full distance.